Thank you for staying on the AM show. It's now time to talk about that subject that's been trending, especially since the NDC's flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, mentioned that he will legalize the Okada business when or if he's re-elected. If you don't know what the Okada business is, it's just use of motorbike to for commercial purposes. Roland, have you used an Okada before?
Yes, I grew up in Ashaima.
Wow.
So I've used it. And I've actually used it in Liberia, in Benin, Togo, and Nigeria.
Oh, wow. So we do admit that this is not only a Ghana problem. It happens across Africa.
I don't know whether it's a problem. In those countries, it's not.
Well, in Togo, I've seen the Togo experience. When they get to the traffic light, they stop.
Yeah. Even in Benin, they have beeps. They have Togo too, they have beeps. So you have so it means they are registered, regularized.
But in Ghana, that's not the situation.
And so that's why we need to do the regularization so that they all come under one umbrella.
But in Kampala, in Uganda, for example, we understand that has happened, but it's still difficult for the authorities to do that. You have school children dying. There's a lot of recklessness.
Well, that's Uganda.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You brought in the Benin and Nigeria example of regularization.
No, I mean
and so
Benin and Togo.
Benin and Togo,
sorry.
Benin and Togo example of regularization. And I'm bringing the Kampala example as well to let us know that there's just so many things involved. But we've been speaking to the riders themselves, Roland.
Well, and that's why we have to go to Manuel Quantin to give us the latest on what he's been roving about and what you and I have been saying as ordinary Ghanaians.
Kuma circle, if you like, Kwame Nkrumah interchange here in a crowd. And generally, I want to pick reactions to the calls, or if you like, the promise by the former president, John Dramani Mahama, that he is going to legalize the commercial motorcycle business, if you like, Okada, if he wins the December polls. Indeed, this particular business has been listed as one of the most deadly, like the deadliest really, with fatalities increasing from somewhere about 2005, from 2.7% to 27% in just about 15 years in 2020. The fatalities have been phenomenal, if you like, astronomical. What do the riders themselves think that they are safe while riding? What is getting them to want to continue this business of Okada? What about the passengers? Are they comfortable sitting on the motorcycles even as they rush to their various destinations? I mean, I'm trying to pick some reactions and talk to a few of them on what really is getting them to venture into this business, whether or not they think that they are safe. If you put that against the promise of the former president, John Dramani Mahama, how are they receiving it? Good morning. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us. Former president John Dramani Mahama, or say, Oba, say, you to me to Abaman and I say, Oba be dear, dear. Oba, Mema Okada, legal, Emana Akoso. How do you receive this?
But your former president John Dramani Mahama was your belly like Okada. Now I am at the bar because Okada for a Drubabia, a Junesa and Tiasia because Ghana for a coese Omon Busse, Nipa or Ghana, Hazel or Okada so because Okada and your beer and I feel so Okada. Drubabia, Nemabina, Otimi who say or be room Okada Nejimam na or the moto, say or the foul bino or Yanka cry at Tuno bottom. Nti Metisa, your former president John Dramani Mahama see or Berling the Okada, I am a depa because Okada na ye Jimano, a Drubabia, Yankasa, or Jimanasuno, Yahu Nemabia, a ninja.
And never be to say
something like Otimi who or be. Or new roadway or new insurance. Maybe are not no motor no crampo now use on a Yenedia bet or bet my use. Oh, so who I want to mean coffee, police who also are more action no, or more chua, no more Jessica, no my jaw, my uncle. Ebia or more a dependency car on Bedino, Ebia or Macassage for 100 Ghana bra, 550 Ghana bra. You know, and yet bed illegalize here, Ebia. Laws I walk on no, or more the laws, Beba, na, and name I'll call you my.
So he's telling me that, well, he's quite elated about the announcement by the former president. He thinks that it's a good call. He makes mentions of the fact that some other people are not even regularized, no registration, no insurance, no roadworthy. But for some of them, they do have it. But having that doesn't mean that they can go out, and report. He mentions also that the police men and women have been arresting them and taking monies from them. As to how factual that is, that's another call. But I'm looking at him and I'm seeing, some marks on his face and so on. Who say when him am make kakaka and no ebasen?
No the moto, no the fear and mental from pressure. Because a Jimana me no eduru babia calculation na wa wagin no o mpese ye na ma bia wontimi ye adwuma no enkoye kakra yesusu ye wo hono ma adwuma bia ni hono ma nte ye manage through do babia e bia Saturday Sunday bia obehumi no obehu na e bia o pese wo ye say me say no mo kola mi no omo nyina mo ko school hanum nti se mempia omo ndidi omo nye sika nko school nyina ntina ema all the time e brand doors.
So he says that the marks on his face are not marks from accidents that he was involved in riding a motorbike. He said these are domestic accidents. He has kids at home who depend on him. If he does not go out on the bike, there's nothing that he could give to his children. But there's another gentleman here who I want to speak to. Boss, Epacho, you say nkofo bebre nya accident ewo moto so mo moye moto Okada no munsuro.
Asamba ko won say motor riders no obinumu ha mu nya butre na se na ya nya butre so nyina free police for no because ya hu say police ni na gina ha na ya panic nti radia na say radia rough because of police ni o gina honte because ya hu traffic light ya mu say de bia mu say ya gina traffic light no and na police for ntina traffic light ya ntangina no because ya gina traffic light o hu na ya be yuki. Yeah, you are sometimes ubi or lances or road work, but still be able to use car.
Well, he's telling me that the reason that they are involved in a lot of accidents is that they fret when they see the police men and women. In fact, he mentions also that he mentions that they panic when they see the police in traffic, and so they want to just jump the red and then move away so that they can escape, being arrested and so on and so forth. But that also exposes them to a major risk. And that's the reason we record a lot of accidents and so on and so forth. I'm going to ask him what it would take for them to respect the traffic regulations. What red we know means stop and green means go. But they have turned that upside down, and whether red or yellow or green, everything is go. I'll find out. Argentina, more respected traffic lights, no. Be red, I say munjina, but munjina, you be huna namoko.
As some me can say, the entire yenya red, who say red in any corner. Ye jina traffic light now. Police near Oba, original traffic light or direct traffic light is duty to direct traffic light. But over just dumano, abache moto. Until you do traffic light now fears be up by home until you say hey there faster police in the chair so 100 Ghana 50 Ghana 70 Ghana sometimes Uber and Kronya for passenger back ebia 5 city na wo kunokuo na 3 city ana police akoche demand 100 Ghana.
Well, so the
debate is unending, but you have to speak to the National Road Safety Authority.
Yeah, definitely. And we have its director for planning and programming, the engineer David Adonte is joining us. Good morning to you, engineer Adonte.
Good morning, my good friend. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a while, and you and I know about this motorized cycles being used for commercial purposes. What does the law currently say on it?
Okay, I think that, let me say good morning to our cherished viewers, and then good morning to you and your members. I think that the issue of this Okada matter, motorcycle riding and all that has come up again. And you know that from a couple of months ago, from somewhere last year to now, we've been talking about it. And we knew that it will come up at a higher level as we are experiencing currently. It's a very big issue and very sensitive indeed, because as we are all aware, by law, the Road Traffic Regulation 128 clearly defines the barriers. It tells us in simple terms that it is not acceptable, it is not allowed, and so the law frowns on it, which means that no one in this country is allowed to use motorcycle or tricycle for fare-paying purposes, which we all call commercial purposes. Now, we from the National Road Safety Authority have also made it very clear. The law came as a result of consultations, research, best practices, and the fact that it constitutes a high risk in the road traffic environment. And so we all put our heads together and accepted the law. Unfortunately, the situation on the ground, it is not as the law requires. That is the unfortunate situation, which means that the law is not working. There are people to enforce it, and that is the police. I've already indicated their inability to enforce it to the brim, largely because in recent times that we took some trips across the country to see the situation as it is on the ground, clearly shows that it is widespread. It's across the country. Every corner of this country, you find motorbikes, tricycles, people sitting in paying money, and it's like a taxi everywhere. And they give all sorts of reasons. And if you're not careful, you will buy into their reasons why they're using these motorcycles. For example, somebody tells you it's for health purposes. That's why they used to go to hospitals. That is why they used to go to schools. They go to farms. They go to markets. They use for all sorts of purposes. Somebody tells you without the motorbikes in this community, then you will see us walking again. And so it's providing a kind of a public transport system for all these communities, especially those in the rural areas, which means that there is some element of public transport deficiency problems within the rural areas where people are patronizing. But at the same time, it is killing us. If you look at our statistics, my good friend, you will see that out of the 2,000 deaths we record every year, 700 to 800 of them happen to be those sitting on motorbikes and tricycles. If you go to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and all the teaching hospitals in Ghana, you will see the story. People are maimed. I mean, beyond anything that they can contribute to anything meaningful in this country. The hospitals are suffering. The Ghana Medical Association have already raised their red flags that it is a very dangerous business people are doing now. And so what is the situation? And we have two options. The law as it is, if we can enforce it to the brim, but if we cannot, which appears to be the case, then we have to do something about the law. The ground is different from what the law says. The ground is different. And so it is up to us as a nation to debate it, think through. We are aware that the former president has already, indicated his willingness, if he should win power in the next year or so, to legalize it. Now, the question is whether to maintain it as it is, as an illegal business, or to legalize. Well, he has opted for legalize, but he says there should be some form of regulation. Indeed, I think the further questions that we need to ask by interrogating this position is that how do we regulate? If the kind of regulation that people are proposing is said that it can protect human life and property, that is what we as a National Road Safety Authority were looking for. The fact that nobody should die on a motorbike or get injured to the extent that he becomes incapacitated for life. Our position is that we need to protect human life and property. There are a lot of models countries are now playing around with. If you go to Rwanda, for example, where we have been there to study the model, they have more or less administratively legalized, but they are regulating. They have given them standards and guidelines. They train them. They have a special police to monitor them. They have a way of sanctioning them if you should fail to comply with the standard. And then they have also unionized, more like cooperatives. And the sanctions are so huge that somehow they appear to be comporting themselves and behaving well. But it's a model. Elsewhere, people are playing other models where you can't find two persons sitting on one motorbike. No. So it is a way of automatically eliminating the passenger sitting on a motorbike. We as a nation must also come up with a certain model.
Okay, Engineer, Road Safety Authority, what are you thinking about on this?
Well, we have these three options that we're looking at. The current position, and of course, that is what we all go for, that it is not acceptable. Those countries who had the problem, like Nigeria, for example, they already told us. And we know from India and so all those other countries that as far as safety is concerned, it is not a mode of transport that we encourage for passenger services. And so we go for that one in particular. But the difficulty is that if we have what it takes to enforce it, then so be it. But if it goes beyond the safety that we all know, and now it is hitting something like job for the boys, or it is hitting like something like public transport system in rural areas is inefficient or even not in existence, then it's gone beyond the limit or the barriers of safety. It's not going into economics. It's gone into agriculture. It's gone into other areas. Now there are some municipal authorities or municipal assemblies that are levying them. They are taking taxes from them and they are encouraging them to operate. So it's even gone into governance and rural development and so on.
So regularize it.
Well, I think that we will not be in a position to say that we are regularizing. We have indicated by statistics that it is something that is dangerous, it's risky. If we need to contain it as it is under the law, then the police, the MTTD, must be up to the task. Unfortunately, if they cannot, and it should come to a stage where we say we should regularize and regulate, then we should have what it takes for us to be able to regulate them indeed. I'm talking about regulation, which means that these guys will have to go through training, they have to be monitored, they have to be given standards in a manner that they will stop the kind of misbehavior that makes the whole practice unacceptable and risky.
Well, thank you very much. Engineer David Adontain is Director of Planning and Programming in the National Road Safety Authority. It's a big conversation. I'm not sure that we've ever
had
been
enough
able
time to exhaust
tackle it
so
and come to an end. It's going to rage on for a number of days. Yeah, definitely.
But now we'll be bringing you showbiz shortly. Kadi is standing by this day.